Professor B here.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in to this YouTube video. If you get a chance, check out my
Professor B here. Welcome to another edition of 49ers Live here at the campus of City College of San Francisco. Welcome to 49ers Live, Professor B. We're here in San Francisco. In a few moments, we will go out to Santa Clara to hear the coordinators segment, both Robert Sala and Clint Kubiak, as the Niners continue to prepare to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll hear from them in our video feed courtesy from the 49ers at 49ers.com via 49ers Studio. We'll hear from them in just a few moments' time as we get you ready for the Niners taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a late afternoon game as I think we're just about getting ready to start it right this moment. It'll be Robert Sala coming on as Robert Sala will be coming. He will go first, and the feed courtesy, and it goes right now.
Watching tape on Mustafa, and then what has it been like kind of working with him here this week?
Yeah, he's his tape from last year was pretty impressive for a rookie. Violent, fast trigger football player, and we've only had a couple days with him now, but he's made of the right stuff. That's for damn sure.
Mika Egbuka, I hope I'm saying that right. What is it about him, or what skill set does he have that's given him so much success so early?
He's powerful for such a young man. Powerful hands, and obviously he's playing with a lot of confidence. You give a young guy a lot of confidence, and then the sky's the limit. So, and they're doing a good job with him too, putting him in positions to be successful. And Baker is playing at a level that's MVP quality, and so for him, like I said, big, strong, confident football player. Yeah.
Robert, I'm surprised the pass rush hasn't been as good without Nick Bosa. I mean, has it been at an acceptable level in your estimation?
We'll continue to grow. It's I'm not hitting any panic buttons. There's a lot of young guys in there still trying to find their way through the NFL. I thought even against the Rams, felt like Huff was just a breath away from ending the game a couple of times there in the fourth quarter. But can it be better? Absolutely. Could it be worse? Absolutely. But I'm not at that point where we're going to panic. We're going to keep working with these young guys and giving them opportunities to rush the passer, and they'll get better as the year goes.
Robert, there's some numbers that show that Mikael Williams might be the fourth most doubled defensive lineman in the league. Well, how does he handle those doubles, and is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, he's doing a great job. He is from a run perspective, he's doing a really nice job setting edges. And there's like him and Alfred, for example, they're still trying to find their ways as pass rushers. There's times where Alfred, being the big man that he looks like he's trying to play finesse, and there's times where Mikel's trying to run through people, and just having that change up where Mikel might have to play a little finesse and Alfred might run through somebody's face. It's just they're learning their style, they're learning what works for them, and the cool thing is that they've got tremendous intent. They play with tremendous strain. They're smart. They're upbeat. So like I said, we're excited to work with them. They'll continue to get better.
It's been a week since the Rams game, but can you go back and just reflect on the fourth down stop and just whatever you told the guys going into that specific play and your view of how it unfolded?
No, it was. I've been asked. First off, much respect to those guys. Stafford, Sean McVay, and Mike LaFleur, they outstanding job from a game plan standpoint, putting themselves in the position they put themselves in. And, we played it like short yardage, figured call our best short yardage call. They were going to call their best short yardage call. And to be honest, like that play that Sean ran, I don't want to speak for him, but based on our calculations, the success rate was ridiculously high when they run that play. And even if you knew what was coming, they still manage. They ran one earlier in the game where Upton hit it 2 yards in the backfield, and Kyron Williams still freaking got the first, or the back still got the first down. So it was one of those back and forths. I remember the the first go around when we called timeout, we had 4 DNs on the field, so we needed to burn a timeout. And then obviously we got our personnel out there playing with a short yardage mentality. They hard count and called timeout, thought maybe, okay, they're going to kick the field goal. They still sent the group out there, and, just talking to Kyle, I said, hey, Kyle, based on the look, might need one. They broke the huddle and lined up the way they did and said, all right, we're going to let it ride, see what happens. And credit to the guys, man, they made a heck of a play. Triggered, played fast, and luckily we came on the right side of it.
Whittington moved inside there right before the snap. I saw it when I watched the tape. Lucas and Fred really seemed keyed and ready to respond to that. Is that film study over the course of the week? Were they looking for that indicator?
It was one of those take a shot deals, like, there was, like I said, it was one of their best plays, and they're very, very successful at it. And it was I think it was the third or fourth time we saw it. So they, credit to, again, our guys. They triggered, they took their shot, and they ran that play. So
Quoted as saying, get in the C gap and F it up. I mean, do they have that?
when you run that play, the C gap is everything.
So they have that kind of initiative, though, to recognize that and say, you do that and.
Absolutely. And these young men are smart. You give them the information, but they still have to film study. They're still out there feeling those bullets being shot, especially those young guys, to be able to recognize that and trigger and play as fast as they did to create that knockback. Fred playing into that C gap, creating the initial knockback was critical, and then Siegel just triggering from his depth to finish it off and keep it from falling forward. It was a tremendous team effort.
Nightmare a few weeks ago. The other stop, not that fourth down stop, the other stop with Alfred Collins, Christian McCaffrey, and Fred Warner both saying that was the best play that they had ever seen. Have you ever seen a guy, let alone a rookie, make a play like that, a stop like that, given the circumstance? And did that make Alfred that much more impressive, given his slow start?
So Alfred, one, that it was probably one of the coolest individual efforts I've ever seen in a game of football. I mean, he splits a double team, and a cool side note to Alfred is during the evaluation process, we talked about how Alfred gives us something that we haven't really had since Buckner or Armstead. It's just a guy with tremendous length to be able to make those plays where he's just sprawling out and making a play that most D linemen in this league can't make. And it showed up there, the amount of strain and individual effort that it took for him to split the double team and just violent punch out. It was probably one of the coolest and most impressive individual efforts I've seen from an interior D lineman that close to the goal line. So that clip will be on teach tapes for a very, very, very long time. I could promise that. But Alfred, he did get off to a slow start in training camp, but that young man, he's made of the right stuff. His day in and day out attitude, his work ethic, his strain, all of it. I mean, it's important to him. He loves this game, and he's going to be a problem. He'll continue to grow, and he's going to be a big, big problem in this league if he keeps the same mindset and the trajectory that he's going on.
You had a nightmare a few weeks ago that the Saints were going to light you up. How often do you have football nightmares, and what often happens in them?
I have nightmares all the time, man. I think I was up last night. I mean, I came home I got home at like midnight, and there was like 3 of my babies sitting in the sleeping in the bed, and I was like, where the hell am I going to sleep? I was cuddling sneak into the corner of the bed, and just stare at the ceiling for a couple hours. And my mind is always racing and thoughts of trying to help our guys be in the best position possible. Some good ideas, some bad ideas, but that's the hard part of being a football coach. I mean, cortisol levels are always high, so.
These nightmares include Egg Buka this week.
A lot of Baker, a lot of their skill guys, their backs, all of them. They do an outstanding job, and that Baker, like I said, he's playing at an MVP level. He makes that whole thing go, and again, credit to all the young guys who are stepping up with all the injuries that they're having. They're doing a really nice job putting up a lot of points on a lot of really good defenses.
Can you think of any other times in your career where your defense has gone on the road and the opposing offense has had to go to a silent count like the Rams did a couple of times on Thursday?
Yeah, I feel like that's been the case at any time we go down there. It's in 2019 it was the Coliseum, and it felt the same way. It was COVID the next year, but no, not like that. You know, so SoFi, that was my first experience with fans in SoFi. Because if you guys remember, my only game in SoFi had been the COVID game. So, but no, it's pretty cool. We travel. I joke around. I say that the most Niner fans can't. You know, we're it's so expensive to live in the Bay. It's probably cheaper to go to a road game. You know, but it's good to see how much our fans travel. They're second to none.
It's on the other side of the line, but Adrian Martinez, what have you seen from him in his growth from when you had him in Jets versus now?
Yeah, Adrian's cool, man. If anyone gets a chance to spend a couple of days with Adrian, you come away impressed. And if you really think about it, everywhere he's gone, he's won. He won in college. He won in the UFL. He was MVP in the UFL. And you know, I've always said all it takes is an opportunity, and what you do with your opportunity is what's going to paint your create your path, if you will. And it's awesome to have Adrian here. You guys know how I feel about Kyle and his staff. I think they're the best in the world, and so he's getting an opportunity to be with some of the greatest coaches and in a really cool room with Mac and Brock and all those guys. So he's got a chance to do something cool, and you know, if he ever gets his opportunity to step on the field, I think he's going to do awesome.
As far as game planning, how much of a resource is Kyle, and vice versa? How much do you pitch in with the offensive game plan?
Pitch in? No. I'd probably ruin it, but no. My conversations with Kyle, we're always going back and forth, talking ball. He's probably one of the cooler ones to talk to, and it's not to have that resource at your disposal and not use it would be silly on my part. So.
On Alfred real quick. He had mentioned after the game that the play that he got the punch out on, it was similar to something he saw earlier in the game, and he kind of overran it. Just in terms of his mental growth and recognizing things in real time and making adjustments like that, how has he maybe improved?
All of them. You know, I had a really cool conversation with Upton Stout on the in practice today. He was asking how he can feel routes when we're 99. You know, we want 99.9 vision on the quarterback. And he's like, well, I'm also responsible for these routes. How do I feel them? How do I do that? And my answer to him was simply reps. Eventually, you get to the point where you recognize formations, you recognize indicators, you recognize from film study on how teams like to attack us as a defense that you just know what the route is, so you can play. You're playing routes without ever having to see them because you feel, you know, you can see the quarterback, you see the mannerisms, and that's where you get faster and faster and faster. But you know, and that's kind of the whole thing with our scheme. People say we don't do a lot, but what we do it very, very fast, and it's very, very sound. And it's fast because our guys get to the point where they just know what's happening to them, so they can go faster. And that's where Upton's at. That's where Alfred's at. That's where all these rookies are. They're still learning, and they need reps to be able to gather information, gather feel of football, start understanding how teams attack us, how teams block us, how teams come at us on a play-in, play-out basis. And once they get to that point of true understanding, that's when you see their ultimate speed.
Thank you, guys.
Guys, good. Thanks, guys.
All right, so you just heard from Robert Saleh to the media, and coming up in a few moments' time, we will hear from 49ers offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. Just a reminder, the 49ers will take on the Tampa, and right back, it's Clint Kubiak right now.
I think he's right where he needs to be. Super impressed with Adrian since he's been here. He's a really smart guy. You know, you can tell he's gotten a little more reps just because of the, you know, Mac kind of progressing a little bit through the week, and Adrian hasn't missed a beat. He's been on it, and I feel like Adrian can go out there and run our offense. So really confident in him.
There wouldn't be any limitation in the plays that you could call. He's got the full playbook.
Yep, 100%.
What's Brock Purdy's contribution to the game plan and getting Mac up to speed to play?
Yeah, I think just Brock's presence every day in the meeting rooms. You know, Brock's been through our process of preparing for games and how we install and how we you know, watch film and all those things, and he can kind of he's just helpful to those guys, and kind of sharing his process and talking to guys about what he sees in a defense, kind of how he would do things. So just his presence, his experience, just kind of being words of wisdom for Mac and for Adrian. That's really all he can do in terms of helping those guys prepare and then just being there to support them. So.
When you're watching film on a guy like Mac before you sign him, you can envision how he's going to fit, just stylistically. But in terms of toughness, things that you can't see until you get up close to him, what have you learned about him and what you've seen from him so far?
I think that's very true. You don't really know until you get a guy and you see him play. And I think we all knew Mac was a tough player. I think we didn't have any assumption he wasn't. But when you see a guy go out there and battle and work through the injuries and get hit and stay in the game when it's not looking good, or when when we have to come from behind in a 2-minute drill, like all those things, and you learn a lot about a guy. And Max just keeps proving time and time again that he's made of the right stuff, and he's built to play quarterback in this league. So it's been pretty cool.
Last week, how close did you think? Did you think you were going to have to go to Adrian there?
I think for a moment we were all pretty scared, when he was down, and then he popped up and jogged off, and we're like, all right, we took a breath. But so yeah.
Nick Saban was saying last week that when he had Mac at Alabama, he called him Mac and Rowe because of his high school tennis background, but also because he was prone to going off. If he made a bad throw or he did something bad, and he was throwing like almost like mini tantrums. And I don't know if he was exaggerating, but I'm curious, is there any part of that still with him now, or is he totally
No, I mean, Mac's very competitive, and you do see it in those moments where he might miss a throw or somebody was off on a play. He just has a passion, and it can come out, sometimes, and we love it. I mean, it's part of what makes him who he is. It makes him a competitor. It makes him, he's very detailed, and he likes things very detailed. And he's hard on himself. He's hard on his teammates. And that's what we like about him. As far as the tennis thing goes, it's funny you say that because we happen to think, the way a guy moves in tennis and Mac's tennis background can help you as a thrower, the way you move in a pocket. There's similarities. And, it's both of those are true.
What have you seen as far as the interaction between Kyle and Robert as far as, game planning and back and forth, and how much of a resource they are for each other?
Coach Sala? Oh yeah, I mean that's really cool to be a part of and to see, just the way that they both kind of share their knowledge and experience with each other. Kyle kind of sharing things he's seen from an offensive perspective to help him, and vice versa. And Coach Sala is helpful to me. We talk all the time. We just kind of share what we're seeing with our opponents, and it's a great working relationship. And I've benefited from it. Our whole team has, so it's good.
Tampa has a really good run D, but Seattle ran for over 6 yards a carry last week. What did the film show when you watched? How did they have success?
Yeah, they hit a few big ones. I think they had a couple carry. I know they had like a 30-yard carry. Walker maybe had like another 21. So they had a few explosives, so that adds up. They did some stuff to kind of, I think, wear down Tampa a little bit just by staying on the field. So just kind of, the fatigue caught Tampa on a drive or two that allowed them to run the ball. But, they're the number one run defense in the league for a reason. They're big, they're physical, they do things schematically that really can shut down your run game. So yeah, we see some things that Seattle did that you'd love to do, but we know they're going to be ready to go and ready to stop the run. So it's going to be a big challenge.
How much is what Kendrick Bourne has done on the field to give you confidence in what can happen going forward?
Yeah, I mean, he just gets better every week. He's a gamer. He's still, you see a guy who's still learning to grasp our offense schematically, but he gets better every week, and he's such a joy to be around because he's all in. He's got a great attitude. He works at it. And I think he's a guy who's just, the more he's out there, the more he's going to help us. And so really excited about what he's done, what we hope he can keep doing. So.
Is this chemistry with Mac evident on the field and not just in games, but at practice throughout?
Yeah, you can tell they have a good relationship. They have the history. You can just tell they can talk to each other in the game too. When I think KB had the drop and Matt can just go to him and just communicate and get him dialed in for the next play. And it's really cool. And we kind of knew that about them. They had a relationship in the past. So, I'm glad it's working out for us now.
The injury setback, but how would you assess how Connor Colby has done?
Connor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Connor's done a good job. He's like a lot of rookies. There's ups and downs, and there's plays you'd want to have back. There's things he can do better. He's battling through some stuff, but a lot of guys are. So Connor's just about getting better every week and learning from the film. We're coaching him hard. He's playing hard. But it's like anybody else. You got to learn from the previous game. You got to keep getting better, and I think the more he's out there, he's going to keep getting better. So yeah.
Kyle, over the years, the last few years, he talks more about the rushing attempts than the rushing yards and how important they are. And even in the last game, with like 70-some yards on 30 carries, that doesn't look good. But how important are those attempts to sort of, keep the defense honest?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the last game, we didn't have good yards, but we had the attempts, which means we're on the field. We're staying on the field, and we're converting some third downs and we're sustaining some drives. And even though the runs aren't producing what we want them to, we're still able to get those. And even if they're 4-yard runs, 3-yard runs, they still have that effect on the defense, And so that is a positive. But do we want to keep getting better? Yeah. Do we want to have more yards? Yes. But anytime you can stay on the field, whether it be throwing the ball or not, you're going to get those attempts, and that means you're moving the ball. And so it doesn't always work out that way, but that's how it did work out on Thursday. So we want to want to get more production on the ground, but as long as we're staying on the field, we're going to keep trying. So
What are the characteristics of a Bulls defense? I know he brings a lot of pressure, but what does it look like?
yeah, I mean, a lot of pressure. You said it. It starts with just the experience of the guys who are running the show. I mean, you look at Levante David and in the back end, and you got Vita in the front, and just guys who've been there, and those core guys. They run that scheme very well. They've been doing it for years, so they have a lot of confidence in each other. They're tough to go against. They're very physical. They challenge you with pressures. They challenge you with man coverage. They get after you on third down with blitzes, and so they're a defense that can make a lot of plays, and you got to be ready for all that stuff. And it's the challenge of the week, and that's what we're getting ready for. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, that was Clint Kubiak, and that was also you also heard from Robert Sala. We're preparing for the 49ers. Video courtesy from our friends from 49ers.com and 49ers Studios. Glad you guys tuning in on 49ers Live.
I want to go
Uh,
right to
um,
the front office, right to Brian Cashman, right.
so we taking a look at this matchup, the 49ers taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as how they're and you saw some of the clip stats. The fun facts: Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the number one ranked defense against the run in all of football. As glad you guys are joining us on 49ers Live. Professor B here. If you want to check out all of our content, if in case you're not able to, if you missed this one, you can. You can catch this, catch it up on YouTube.com, or got the wrong one. Check out all the content, youtube.com/@NinersRadio49, and please click the subscribe button if you want to check in. So we'll be 49ers and the Buccaneers. That will be the late game on Sunday. That will be on CBS. And then on the Niners Radio Network, KMBR 680, 104.5 FM, and Garrett Guy Haberman and Tim Ryan with the play-by-play in action. We're going to take this quick timeout, and we'll be right back right after this. Professor B will take his timeout. You're watching 49ers Live here on the campus of City College of San Francisco on Niners Radio 49. Welcome back on 49ers Live. Professor B here on the campus of City College of San Francisco as we continue to on Niners Radio 49. We are going to continue. We'll have our segment with Behind the Enemy Lines. We're going to get to the coordinator segment for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as we continue to preview 49ers and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We we're just gonna and we we're gonna just take a look of now of the coordinator. If we have time, we will. It will be Larry Foote, and I think it's he's the defensive coordinator on the challenge. This is from their this is from Tampa Bay Buccaneers.com. So we're going to give you that segment, just a few. So we're going to it's going to be Larry Foote, Bucks defensive coordinator, or the run game coordinator, talking to the media, and then it will be Josh Gizzard. So we're gonna send it there right coming up. So here is Larry Foote, the run game coordinator. How they're gonna.
I think the guys are getting better, especially, you see it in practice. As soon as it happens, they know, they went too far here or there. But at the end of the day, it's anticipation and just growing and learning how to play.
I think McCaffrey might have the best average of any running back in receiving. He's a particular challenge this week. Right?
Well, he's definitely a weapon, and he gets high volume. They throw him the ball. And it's going to be a big challenge, and it's going to take a collective group to slow him down. And he understands route running. If you were there last year, he understands how to get open, and he's a challenge for linebackers, and it ain't easy.
What are you seeing from Yaya Diaby and Hassan Reddick in terms of their role in the defense and getting to the quarterback, too?
Well, the challenge for them that I had personally, just a little insight, I need more activity. I need more activity. And sometimes at pass rush, it can get frustrating when the ball is coming out fast. You can't control that. Every snap, when that ball is snapped, you need to think quarterback's going to hold it for 3 seconds and you're going to be able to get him. And that's my challenge. I need more activity. They're doing a lot of good things, but I need more activity. And don't worry about the sack numbers and when the ball is being thrown. Each snap, think about you're going to have an opportunity to get the quarterback. And don't let the short, quick game frustrate you.
And kind of speaking on that, while the results haven't been there, like how satisfied are you with the process that like they have getting to the quarterback?
Well, we're 4-1. They have juice. They're doing a lot of good things in the run game. But ultimately, we measure pressure, sacks, quarterback hits. And we got to pick it up. And ties in on the back end. We got to get the quarterback to hold the ball as far as tighter coverage or whatnot. But ultimately, let's control what we can control, and that's effort and getting to that quarterback.
Is that harder to do if you're mostly a zone team, as you guys have been on the back end?
But we mix it up here and there. We play a little bit of zone, play a little bit of man. But it's a lot of match zones. It's a lot of man, of course. But it ties in. But up front, those pass rushers, we got to get home. We got to anticipate the quarterback is going to hold it, and at the end of the day, win your one-on-one matchup.
What is the challenge of facing the 49ers offense that no matter who's in there at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, they find ways to have success?
Well, they can run the ball. They don't have big numbers yet, but they're still running the ball, so we're going to have to stop it no matter what. And we don't want them guys to get going this week. So they're going to run the ball. They're going to give us a lot of different formations and looks. And fullback's in the game. He's out wide, so it's going to get a lot of different looks. Guys just got to key in to how they line up, look at the formation, and play ball. But they challenge you. They mess with your eyes. A lot of eye candy. So you got to zone in and look at what you're supposed to look at.
Vita has been a great player in this league for a while, but now I'm watching him play a lot of plays. Like he just isn't coming off the field as much. You feel his impact. What can you say just about his endurance this year and just how much he's, we saw him dropping coverage again the other day. Just what he does for your defense.
He's the best in the league, and that's why we're allowed to play a lot of zones because he takes up a lot of space. And he has that, you guys been around him. He has that little kid nature to him. Big guy, he loves to play. He brings a lot of juice. And I've seen him grow from a young guy. Now he's the savvy vet in the meeting room. And, he makes us go. And he's one of the best in the league. And I'm glad he's on our side.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Certainly are being very efficient doing that. What's been the key to some of those shots down the field that you've hit?
I think it starts up front, being able to protect it up, and if it was that week where it was something we thought like we could get to and be able to attack it, which was last week, and being able to have those guys hold up in protection, giving us a good dish to let it rip, and then it comes down to practice execution of it, being able to get it done out here, and then assuming some of the looks are going to be similar in the game to be able to attack the defense and put pressure on them. So it was good to see last week.
Josh, a lot of people become big fans of Baker for the big throws, the scrambles, talking trash to the fans and stuff like that. But is it fair to say that maybe sometimes it gets overlooked how good his football IQ is, whether it's seeing the field, what the defense is doing, and making adjustments?
I think it definitely does, because you do see the sound bites and you see the way that he plays the game and the demeanor he has, but everything behind the scenes in the meeting room, and whether it's in the quarterback room or meeting with the O-line and talking really to every position, he's very cerebral and understands exactly how we're trying to attack the defense, understands why we're changing plays. He watches a ton of tape, whether it's from the blitz side of it, the coverage structure, what DBs are out there. So you see the way he talks and the way he presents himself, but behind the scenes, it's all football IQ and studying and get himself in a really good position to put other guys in position as well.
You mentioned pass protection was held up to allow the team to go a little bit deeper. And I wanted to ask about your evaluation of Charlie Heck, who came in from the PI team, who's been playing there at right tackle. What have you seen from him so far, and how has he been helping you, and what are some things he can improve on?
Yeah, he's done a good job, even with more reps, being able to enter the game versus Houston really on the fly and know the game plan and execute it. And you've just seen each week him getting better. He's in a good spot right now. We have all the confidence in the world in him. And just to see his ownership of that position and taking it over since Luke has been out, and those guys now having the same communication that might have been with Luke and Cody in there, and all getting on the same page to be able to adjust protections, who we're going to in the run game. So he's done a nice job.
Is that also why Otten was more involved in the passing attack last game?
To an extent, it's something we've been trying to get him the ball a little bit more over the last couple weeks, and it just didn't happen. And it was good to see, like we've talked about in here a little bit, on the patience that he's had and his selflessness helping out in some of the protection things. But then to see the ball get to him and have some really explosive plays that were critical for us in the game. He's done a really good job with that. And typical Cade, whether he was getting it or wasn't getting it, still operating the same way, practicing the same way. So it was really good to see.
Josh, how hard has it been to coach around, call plays with the different lineups up front, offensive line, also missing Mike, receivers going in and out, and how much the percentage of the playbook have you not been able to get to just because you're trying to coach around those issues?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a percentage of it that we haven't gotten to. It's just at the end of the day, that's what we're tasked to do, is whoever is out there is putting those guys in a position to make plays and not ask them to do what the guy that was playing ahead of them might do differently, or do they have a different skill set to do that? So it's been a little bit of a revolving door, but at the end of the day, that's why we spend the long hours in here, is trying to get these guys in the right position to go out there and score points each week.
It felt like Tez Johnson had a little bit of a coming out party. That was clearly his best game, and you have a tough time keeping the same three receivers on the field anyway. As he plays more and more, what are you seeing from him? How valuable can he be in certain roles?
He did a really nice job. It was good to see, a lot like Cade, where the ball was going to him, and you can see what he can do when he's out there, whether it's in some of the intermediate pass game or some of the stuff down the field. But he's somebody that, and hats off to BMAC for the job he's done with not only Mech and getting him to the point where he's at, but also with Tez and what Tez has been able to do on really following Mike and following Chris. And he might not even get that rep, but he's back there taking the mental rep and then talking about it, and he's very clear in his communication, and he wants the ball like all of them do. So it was really good to see the production from him, but really what BMAC's done with him and then really the rest of that group on being able to adjust on the fly and get those guys in a great spot has been really cool to see.
Josh, speaking of wide receivers, Sterling Shepard, he's had some big moments in recent weeks. When you have a veteran like that, not just Mike and Chris, how much does it mean to have somebody who's productive and he's been around and he knows what to do?
Yeah, he brings juice. Anytime he makes a play, I know he didn't have the best celebration in the world after he scored his touchdown, but same thing out here today. He just talks and talks and talks nonstop, and so there's always energy. He could be picking on somebody or a younger receiver or get on the same page on a route conversion, but that kind of energy from somebody, I know he's ancient, but he's not the youngest receiver in that room, and he has just as much juice, if not more, than all of them. So having him around has been really cool, especially on game day. He's always amped up.
You guys are going up against Robert Sala's 49ers defense, and you had a little overlap and saw him when you were with Miami Dolphins in the division, and now you're playing against a 4-1 team. What kind of makes his defense so difficult to go up against, and what are some of the things you're looking out for when you do it at Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, they play extremely hard. They play extremely hard from the front through the stack linebackers, through the DBs. The corners come up and tackle. These guys are well coached. It's very fundamentally sound. They don't do a ton, but when they do it, they go fast. And it starts with Coach Sala. I was with Coach Kasurek, the D-line coach there in Miami, and those guys are coming off the rock. Really good front. And they got guys at every level of the defense, but it goes through Warner. Warner's as good as there is in this league. His ability to communicate, find where the ball's going, attack it, very cerebral. He makes everything go. You know where he's at really on every play, and he makes the whole unit feed off his energy, and you can tell that whether it's the perimeter or the D-line, he's the one. He is truly the quarterback of that defense, so it makes it very difficult to prepare for.
How important has the screen game been, not just from getting a player the ball and going down the field, but also kind of setting up some other things in the offense, whether it's taking a deep shot or something else?
Yeah, it was good to see the production on it last week, and it's something that we do look at on a week-to-week basis of how much can you do schematically based on what they do. But it is good because we do like to get our guys in space, whether it is the receivers, whether it's some of the things you saw Rashad do last week, to be able to make these guys cover 53 and a third, like we talked about in some of the pass game that goes down the field, where if you can put the pressure that you might throw it deep or you could get one of these underneath screens, we feel like it at least keeps those guys off balance to an extent.
So you've had so many game-winning drives. This has been your first year calling plays. These games are coming right down to the wire. How much of the success has been Baker out there? And are you experiencing this now?
It goes through the quarterback no matter what team it is, and he is clearly the leader, and he never flinches in that moment. But he'll be the first to tell you that it truly does take all 11 to be able to hold up, to be able to get really that first explosive play like we're talking about that really gets the drive going. So even on the route to Mech had to be in the right spot. Cade didn't get the ball, but Cade ran an unbelievable route, and we held up in protection. So it really starts all 11 and gets the drive going. But before the drive, it's like it was those other 3 weeks, I guess, before that, where clear communication on his end, this is what we need to do, this is how we're going to do it, and then everybody's just built confidence each time we've done it to be able to go down there and try to put 7 on the board.
Along those same lines, I'm sure you came into the season confident in your abilities to do this job, but how much has the success of the first month of the season just allowed you to be more comfortable in this role now?
Yeah, I think it's something from every week, even through the preseason games, you get more comfortable with. You get more comfortable with the way the game is being played and the communication with the coaches. We have had some adjustments on the fly, whether it be personnel or schematics that needed to happen. But it's a matter of having a game plan going into it, and can you stick to that game plan, or how much do you need to adjust it? But I have all the confidence in the world because of the veteran leadership that really starts with Bake on being able to handle that on the fly, as well as the communication with the coaches with trying to get to things that might not necessarily be how we saw them coming in. And so I think, like any other job, the more you do it, the more reps you get at it, hopefully you improve at it.
I know you guys knew that Emeka was a good player, and he proved that in training camp and preseason and all of that. But now he's doing stuff. You hear names like Randy Moss, Justin Jefferson, is that what we're talking about with this guy here?
To see some of how it's been compared statistically for what I guess guys have done before him is pretty cool to see. And it's just his commitment to the practice and being in the right spots and the ball finding him, and Bake having the confidence, especially on that long one, that he's going to be in the right spot. So only time will tell, but he's off to a hell of a start.
Do you feel he was going to be a vertical guy too as well?
Yeah, there was an element to his game where they had him on things that were overs and deeper routes at Ohio State. I know he played more in the slot, and here he's been really playing all over the field. But his ability to win versus press coverage and his strength allows you to fit some of those balls in there down the field, even if like the one in the red area where the guy's draped all over him, that he can get it. But his time speed, a lot like Tez, might not be a burner speed, but you see him get behind a lot of DBs.
Josh, you have two backs that can run and catch the football, and Rashad and Bucky. But looking at things as an offensive mind, what makes Christian McCaffrey different?
Really good in the run game in terms of handling the football. What he does in their choice routes where he's coming out of the backfield and he really has those 3 options on what he wants to do on the routes is really good. And it's something I've studied all the way back to the time coming in the league. He's a really good back. He's good in protection as well. And they use him in a lot of different ways, and it's pretty cool to see the scheme and how they try to fit what he does well, and the amount of things that he can do is pretty rare.
One of the things the offense needed to work on going into the Seattle game was the red zone offense, and it seemed like in the first 2 drives it didn't quite pan out, but then eventually you guys are able to score in the red zone just right there later in the game. What kind of happened and what developments occurred to make that happen, and what can you kind of carry from that into making you guys more successful down the line?
Yeah. Part of it is just the execution of it. We had the one drive, we were going down, I think it was 3rd and 4, and we unfortunately had a drop that ended, and we got the 3 points out of there. And then it came down to really the execution on the previous drive too, where we got to have better production on some of the early downs, meaning 1st and 2nd down when we're in that part of the field. Because I think on the first one we got down there and it was 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8, which are very tough downs once you get into the red area, especially like the one that was 3rd and 15 from the 20 or whatever that was. It's very low percentage on getting those done, but those need to be more 3rd manageable. So taking care of the early downs will really help out the 3rd downs to continue the drive.
Josh, 5 games in, what have you learned in terms of in-game adjustments? What has been the most surprising thing to you? And as far as 2-minute goes, what have you learned in that situation as well?
I think the in-game adjustments, as much as anything, has been personnel-driven this year. Being able to try to adjust that on the fly to make sure everybody's in a good spot. Some of it has been scheme, where we come out here and practice and you're thinking you're going to get one thing, and if they're just playing something completely different, some of the plays are not going to be as good versus that. So that part of it is a challenge and will always be a challenge. I think you hear a lot of coaches say that they came out in something we weren't prepared for. But it's something we look at each week. And what was the third part of the question?
The 2-minute.
Yeah, the 2-minute.
Yeah. What have you learned there?
Just that when we know what we're getting to and we know what the plays are, and it's things that we know at heart, that way the guys are in the right spot, they can play fast, so they're not thinking about the moment as much as, let me just execute this play that we've been running since April. That way they have the confidence to go do it, and especially being able to start off the drives with a big play, it just gets the juice going for everybody, especially the sideline too, to be able to go out there and operate.
Do you have that play in mind? I mean, that one to Mac, was that one you were cooking up in the second quarter that you think, if we get into 2-minute, this is what I'm going to?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily saved for that. That particular play was something that we had meant to get to beforehand, but those are one of those situations where now you've had essentially 4 quarters of football where you're now thinking what's the best thing to start off with, and hopefully that schematically fits against what they're doing. But it's not necessarily, hey, if we start 2-minute, we're definitely going to this play.
Josh, how much does a win with the Seattle, like you had to be down key players, long trip, very good team, how does that help from a confidence point of view, hitting into 2 tough opponents back to back? Does it make a tangible difference having done that?
It does build a lot of confidence in the fact that we were able to go on the road and we stayed together in a very loud environment, very, very cool environment. I've never been out there, and that place was rocking. But to be able to keep the pressure on those guys and get the win, and the camaraderie that's associated really with any road game because of the time you spend in the hotel and on the plane, and especially coming back, hopefully should build off that each week I know we're back at home, but being able to go on the road and, hey, we've done this there, let's keep this thing rolling.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that was Josh Gizzard, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator. Their game plan, you've heard it. As they're preparing, they'll probably be heading here as we continue live here on the campus at City College of San Francisco. Professor B here, watching 49ers live here. Niners and Buccaneers. We're going to take this quick time out and we'll come back. We'll have more right after this. You're watching 49ers live on Niners Radio 49. Welcome back to 49ers Live. We're going to have our next segment on Niners Radio 49. This was a interview I dug up, discovered. This was from the. This is Rondé Barber, a perennial All-Pro Hall of Famer. He does a show down in the. This is a part of the pot. This was a kind of very. It's Rondé Barber reunited with his old teammate, part of the Super Bowl championship, helped the Buccaneers bring the franchise's first Super Bowl in franchise history to Tampa. This was recently, I think this week. This was on. We're going to share you the audio version. This is courtesy of NBC8 WFLA, the NBC affiliate in Tampa, Florida. As this was about talk about sharing their memories, and of course the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are, along with the Seattle Seahawks, are both celebrating their 50th season of the franchise. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers came into existence in 1976 as they're observing their 50-year anniversary. This is a good interview. We're going to the audio feed courtesy of NBC 8 in Tampa, Florida, as we're going to show you that right now. So we're going to hope you enjoy this clip. You're watching 49ers Live, Niners Radio 49.
One of them in particular, you're going to remember very, very fondly.
Tested.
But how you doing, man? Your team. For one, the Tampa Bay Bucks, and it could easily be otherwise.
That looks like that was a good night right there, dude.
That was the day after this night.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
One of the three of us was feeling better than the other two. That got me started. Oh man, drinks for my holiday party 2 years ago. John and I got the pleasure to meet our entertainment. Favorite memory of that night, by the way?
Just watching you. I think it's, when you're in it, there's so much going on. You've got everybody you've ever known is there, and you got your speech still in front of you. And so you try to enjoy it, but you're also hosting, and you've got so much on your mind. And so I think to step back and when it happens to one of your teammates, one of your best friends in the world, you probably get to really enjoy the whole process more and really take it in and say, man, that is they're at it. And so many of the people that that I know and love. And just watching you and your joy and your mom and your brother, it's just unbelievable. And so it was, the entertainment was great and all that, but it's so much more than that. It's all the memories, your life in front of you. And the thing I find interesting about the Hall of Fame, usually Hall of Fame players during their career, like I was just talking about the Hall of Fame weekend, you never take time to reflect back because it's always about what's next, what's next, what's next. And so it is a cool opportunity. I found it really cool because you get to take inventory of everything and say, man, I've lived a pretty cool football life, and the people I've been exposed to, and it all comes full circle. So it is an exceptional deal.
Right. I've had the great opportunity to experience you and Derek and Sap before me, and Tony for that matter. He didn't have the party that the other three had. John's party, by the way, had Lionel Richie, and that was a nice standard to live up to when I threw mine. So I got
thanks to the Glazers and all these nice people, Glazers and Jed York here with the Niners. I didn't even play for him, for Christ's sake. And he goes, "Who do you want?"
Well, John, you are pretty unique. I told you I was going to give you flack, and I am. You're in 2 rings of honors, the Bucks and the Broncos, and you got a San Francisco 49ers helmet right over the top of your head. So you might be one of the most unique individuals in the history of the NFL, if I'm being honest about your career path. And it's been probably a pretty fun ride for you. Speaking of that ride, let's get into because I don't want to take all your time, but I do want to ask you about our matchup, and I'll get to it. But what's it been like being in your seat for the last? What has it been? Are you 9?
This is year 9 now.
Yeah, 9 years. What's it like?
Yeah, it's been an incredible ride. Like people say, did you ever see yourself doing this? Part of me did. When we played, I was always kind of into, like even going back to being a kid, my dad, we had a saying, like, lynches don't miss school. He was really big. He went to school, whether you were sick, we weren't sick, you went to school. The one day he took me out, ironically, was the NFL draft. And the NFL draft wasn't a huge deal then. I believe it used to happen like on a Tuesday. And my dad would literally take me out of school, and that was our thing. We'd watch the NFL draft. And so I always was interested in, that part of it when we were working on our trailers at Buck Place. I'd go back and see Rich McKay and them and ask them about their jobs. I was always a little intrigued, but probably the biggest moment for me after I left camp, I obviously went and played for Denver and became fairly good friends with John Elway. And after I was done playing, started hanging around him more, golfing a couple times a week. And then he took the dive with the Broncos. And so when he took that dive, you're new to something. Even John, who had been around the Broncos organization, said, "Johnny, I don't know any of these people that I'm working with. I think there's some good people, but I need some eyes that I trust." And I was doing my NFL on Fox stuff. You love football. I trust your eyes. We talk ball all the time. Would you watch the safeties this year? So I start watching the safeties, and then the next year it's, hey, would you watch it? You did a hell of a job. Would you watch the DBs? And so I did that for them. And then the next year, come in, do our draft process, do our offseason. So I did that on a volunteer. He didn't pay me anything. I still give him a hard time about that. And that kind of piqued my interest. And so the next thing was like, will the right situation ever present itself? And kind of just fell into it. And where Kyle Shanahan was a guy, I did a lot of his games. When you're doing someone's games, there's a mutual respect, and we start talking a lot. It looks like he's going to get this job, and I said, hey man, I'm thrilled for you. You had a heck, they ended up in the Super Bowl that year, and he said something. He goes like, I'm just really struggling to find someone I want to do it with. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, GM, I can't find one that I'm really fired up about working with. And one of those deals where you go to bed and you don't know what's on your mind. But Linda kept saying, you're thinking about something. I know when you're like this. And finally, about 3 nights in, I said, Linda, I know what it is. Kyle said this. Like, what if I did that? She said, no. I said, why? She said, because that would entail us moving, and our kids are happy. We're happy. We're in San Diego. Next thing you know, I said, no, I've got to do it. I got to at least take the interview and see if it's possible. So, long story short, 9 years later, here we are.
There you are.
It's been an awesome ride.
Dude, you built a heck of a team, man. You're perennial contenders. Let's get into this matchup. Well, first of all, tell me about how important early season wins are. Because I was thinking last night, right before I was getting ready to have this conversation with you. I said, actually, I texted Rhett this too. I was like, how important were each of our wins last week? Because we're going into a game where 4-1 is playing 4-1. And if you would have lost last week on Thursday night to the Rams, you're then 3-2.
thank God we have Mac because he's allowed us to get the 4-1 play really good.
That's a perfect transition. The guy that Bucks fans here are just enamored with, and that's Baker Mayfield. Similar situation, right? Cast off for number one pick in the draft. Cast off. He's been here for 3 years, and I know we had Brady. I know for a fact, John. We could talk Bucks stuff here in a second, but I don't think that we've had a more popular quarterback in Tampa ever, and I mean ever, than Baker Mayfield. The guy, and I'm a homer here. I don't study quarterbacks. I study Baker a lot because I watch all their film because I have to. Career year last year in yards, touchdowns, top five in both. He's currently fourth in yards and third in touchdowns this year. Is he as special as everybody here thinks he is? I mean, when you're looking at him, you're going, "Oh, we got to play this dude," and all he does is find ways to lift the team. This team is decimated. Mike Evans is out. Jalen McMillan didn't even start the year. He got hurt in the preseason. We got a rookie first-round receiver. He's making Sterling Shepard look like the best accessory receiver in the NFL. I mean, is this guy as good as we all think he is?
He's playing like that right now. The guy we played against when he was with Cleveland wasn't that guy. You kind of like playing against him then back then. I can tell you that's not what we're looking at right now. Right now, when football people start saying this guy's out of his mind, when people start talking in that language, that's the way the guy's playing. The zone, he's in that zone. You can tell the game's moving very slow. Like his eyes are up at all times. He doesn't feel like anybody around him can get him down in a pocket. He never feels like. I'll never forget the play when we came to Tampa last year. Nick Bosa's pretty. When he gets his hands on someone, they're typically going down.
Oh my God!
He's like stiff arming with his left the fourth down.
Right.
Like it went on for 8 seconds, stiff arming with his left arm, threw a ball, and got completed. I thought it was one of the great plays I've ever seen. And aside from that, the way he's playing, Baker just kind of has this juice. You can see it from afar. And his teammates love, the fans must love. He's got something special about him. So he's playing really good football. That's our challenge. It's weird talking about the Bucks, and I'm saying our like the opponent. But, this week we are. That is our challenge, is to find a way to neutralize him. And it's not just him. It's a really well put together team by Jason Light, Todd Bowles, a team we have a lot of respect for.
Right. And our challenge, meaning the Bucks challenge, the team that you forgot about, mentioned with, is Christian McCaffrey. I mean, the guy leads you in receptions, yards, receiving, rushing. I mean, he's probably about the most complete back in football. Would you not say that? I mean, I think that. I know there's some other guys out there. You talk about Robinson, Atlanta. You throw Bucky into that conversation. Not the way Bucky reacts to the ball in his hand, but is there a more efficient running back than your guy? I mean, I don't think so.
He's pretty special.
Assuming he stays healthy.
Yeah, I mean Saquon is pretty darn explosive. The interesting thing, both Christian and Saquon this year, I think, are running for like right at 3 yards per carry. So that alone, you don't think. But Christian's finding other ways in scrimmage yards. Our run game hasn't busted out. When you think Kyle Shanahan offense, the run game's always at the center. That's what makes us go.
Right.
We haven't got that ribbon yet, but we continue to do it. That's really, Kyle is always going to continue to run the football with a thought that it's eventually going to bust. And with a running back like Christian, it will. But he finds other ways. The guy could play receiver in our league and be at the top tier of that. He's that talented. He's such a pro. Right, you love him, John. He's a top flight skilled guy in terms of his abilities. I mean, the McCaffreys, his parents, I went to college with them. They were made they should breed. They could do very well.
Put together a breeding program of football players.
Unbelievable. They just breed babies. Unbelievable talent. But on top of that, he's like a walker. He's like we'll see. But it's game's not about me, but it is fun to come back, especially in the 50th year. And I really applaud the Blazers. They did tremendous last year when I was there. I went out pregame, filmed some stuff. And they kept talking about, the 50th anniversary, and it was like, all right, it's not here though, but they did they were years ahead of this thing, trying to make it special. I appreciate that they made it so special. I got one of the coolest. I'm sure you got the same thing, care package. Yeah, the book. They open it up, the book, the jersey, that has the 50th. So they've done a great job at Conklin, but to feel it, it's going to be really special. As for my favorite memory, there's so many. I think I think a lot of them after good wins, us being up with the video guys, you know, maybe having a couple of pops. Yeah, a couple of pops. Hey, Archie, like, with our guys. I mean, we had so much fun. But I think, obviously the Super Bowl and Holden Trophy and all that, because of where we've been. I got there, a while before you, and we were the worst. People forget that the worst franchise in all of sports. It was Johnny Carson back then. We used to often part of the monologue to open the show, and when he would talk about things that suck, it would start with there. I mean, they're as bad as the Buccaneers. And so to take it from that, and I knew how hard you guys worked, because it's hard to fix something that's been broken for a long time. And so to take it from there to the top just made it even more sweet. And then the people we did it with, it was awesome. The only thing at the end to not have Coach Dungy and that whole group there. Exactly. Although we all felt like they were so much a part of it. No doubt. All right. I forgot that I have a co-host over here and Kevin. Yeah. What's up, John? I'm in charge of making sure that we have some fun at Rondé's expense here on this program. We had Gruden on, a few weeks back. We had some laughs at Rondé's expense. So, I find it interesting being here with the two of you because obviously both Bucks Ring of Honor members, both Pro Football Hall of Famers. You've both done work in the booth, but the difference here, John, is that you have gone into being an executive, being a general manager of the football team. Rondé has not moved into the front office. So Rondé and I have had some conversations with this, as we got to know each other, and I'm curious from your perspective. Here's what we want to do. I want to ask you, give me one quality about Rondé Barber that you think would make Rondé a great NFL GM, and then conversely, give me one terrible quality about Rondé that would make him a terrible. They're probably the same. All right. Well, I talked about Christian McCaffrey. Like Rondé's work ethic, he outworked people. He did, and it's tough. He can't skip one. Like his mental toughness. I'm watching that clip right there, and I remember his torn PCL, and nobody even knew about it. He never missed a practice. He said, "I tell people he's the toughest teammate I ever had, both physically and mentally." The one quality that for Rondé that I think as a GM would be tough is every player sucked to Rondé. I think maybe Calvin Johnson once. He's like, "Johnny, this guy's pretty good." But everybody else, that was Rondé's gift. I think because he was a smaller guy, he was the other brother, he had this chip on his shoulder. So as a result, like Mike Tomlin used to say, make Rondé Barber look. That used to be on our tip sheet because everybody sucked. I mean, like we keep playing, but like this guy's a good player, right? He sucks. So, I think that would be really hard because you couldn't field a team because if everyone sucks. Is that true? Because you talk fondly of players. It was a psychological. I had to tell myself they suck, so I knew that I could play against them. I think it was a psychological. I told Rondé when he was going into broadcasting, because I even got, I'm a pretty positive guy, and when I first started working for Fox, David Hill
right, that was from that was from Rondé Barber and John Lynch from the Rondé Barber show from last from last from a podcast the feed audio feed courtesy from WFLA NBC 8 down in Tampa, Florida. That is the courtesy for that podcast. We're gonna take a quick time out, then we're gonna wrap it up in our final segment on 49ers Live. We will have a segment, out of bounds segment. 49, it's a segment. The 49ers join Cancer Warriors for a crucial catch art therapy event. We'll show you that clip. That'll be our final segment. As we'll be right back. Right after this, we'll take this time out. You're watching 49ers Live on Niners Radio 49. Welcome back on 49ers Live, Professor B. We're gonna before we go to our final segment, just to take a look of our final segment. The 49ers taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this is the 49ers and our will begin occur, of course, on that will be this Sunday at be the late game part of the CBS doubleheader twin bill. The Niners will take on the Bucks again. That will be a 1:25 kickoff. That'll be the late window. That will be on CBS. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo with the call. So right now in our final segment for today, we will go into out of bounds in the community. 49ers is a community segment as the 49ers join Cancer Warriors for a crucial art therapy event. This is a great clip, and we're going to show you that clip right now. So
well, today's event is, I think, a celebration of everyone's victory over the cancer that they were fighting, and I think it's a wonderful way to have the 49ers connect with some of those individuals. I mean, I feel very blessed to be here and honored to be a part of the Dignity Health celebration with the 49ers.
Yeah, and I'm just here to support and get to meet cool guys
and people who and people who've battled and fought and showed strength through really difficult diagnoses.
I'm excited. It's something I've never thought about doing, and so to bring it to life on a jacket where you not only can represent who you are here at the game with you, but also after it. It's a memory that won't go away. It's just something that continues to go on and develop with the joy that this day has brought.
It's pretty special. I've still got my first one that I did, and the jacket's in my closet, and the painting's still on the wall. So to have another one and then to do this every year, it's special. And then obviously the opportunity to get to walk down the red carpet. It's such a cool event, and the people you meet is why you do it, and it's awesome to be a part of it.
It's just amazing. You always have an aspiration to meet somebody, and you think, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? It's down to earth, and he's amazing. Both of them were. It's just a person who has the same hopes, dreams, and feelings that you do, and it was just encouraging to be here today. So thank you so much
thank you
for participating with me and doing this.
All right, that's going to do it for this another edition of 49ers Live. I'm Brian Professor B. Davis here on the campus of City College of San Francisco. We'd like to thank all of you for watching 49ers Live today. We'll be back at tomorrow. We'll shoot sometime around 1:30 Pacific Standard Time tomorrow. We'll have a very short show. It will be Kyle Shanahan meeting with the media, I think at 1:30, a little after 1:30. Tomorrow afternoon, it'll be another final for all the injury updates and all that before they'll be prepping to head on out of town. That they'll hop on the plane, head to San Jose International, San Jose to the airport down in San Jose. They'll get a charter flight to head out to Tampa Bay. Tampa, Florida. Then they'll have a walkthrough on Saturday. They'll get to Tampa late night Friday evening, and then they'll have a walkthrough. Then they'll get ready for the Niners and Buccaneers Sunday. It'll be a 1:25 kickoff. There's a late game. It's been switched from 10 a.m. to a 1:25 late afternoon start. That game will be on CBS. Jim Nantz with Tony Romo will give you the call, and on the Niners radio network, US Bank Niners Radio Network, on KMBR 680, 104.5 FM. As Greg Papa and Tim Ryan with the play-by-play in action. So again, that will be a 1:25 start. That will be on CBS, and then for the Niners next, and then after that, the Niners will return to the Mecca. After 2 on the road, they'll take on the Atlanta Falcons, and they'll continue through as the Niners will play an old NFC West rival foe, the Atlanta Falcons, at the Mecca for Sunday Night Football. That will be on exactly 10 days from now, October 19th, 5:20 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can catch that game on NBC Sports, the exclusive network home of Super Bowl 60. Will be back here in the Bay, and which that will be preceded by Football Night in America. Football Night in America will be on at exactly 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and then our next 49ers tailgate show will be coming up right after the home game the previous week. So if in case you miss anything, you could catch this podcast. You could catch it online. Our site is youtube.com. That's YouTube. That will be youtube.com. That's youtube.com/Niners Radio 49, and click the subscribe button. And I'd like to thank all of you, courtesy also for the 49ers, Buccaneers.com for all the footage, and from NBC8 Tampa, Florida. But we'd like to thank you for all for watching Niners Radio 49 for the day. And we'd like to say so long. From here on the campus of City College here in San Francisco, Professor B signing off. Thank you for watching 49ers Live on Niners Radio 49. 49ers Live on Niners Radio 49 is exclusive presentation of the Satellite Digital Media News Network, where every team is a fan, every fan is a voice, the network home of champions. Wishing you all a very pleasant enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. 49ers football, faithful to the bag.